man this wall for a reason. Now, maybe they think it's the wildlings that they're protecting everyone from.
Yes, and that's one of the reasons why you've seen it's played up a lot more in the books than it is in the TV show. But the Night's Watch that we're seeing now is a shadow of its former self, and it used to be. That's what they were there for. It wasn't always the criminals. It was like this piece of... It was a sign of honor when a son from one of the houses would go off and serve in the Night's Watch. And they used to be able to man all the castles, which I think we're going to see as a plot point. Like, they're not able to man all the castles on the wall anymore.
So part of it was, an honor-bound thing, like the Coast Guard or something, like that someone would go join this because, they want to be ready to protect their country. They want to do everything they can to protect their country. They want to do their part. They want to make their family proud. But maybe they're not ever expecting... I'm not trying to say that the Coast Guard is worthless, but you know what I'm saying? Like, that they're trying to say that, they're never really expecting to see battle or having to expect to defend the wall necessarily anymore. It's more of like a tradition thing. Mm-hmm. I support our troops 110%. I want to make that very clear. Beth.
Well, I think it's a great question. And to take it one step further, why does Dany and her camp find it so hard to believe? They've literally watched her walk through fire, survive it overnight, right, the whole nine, and yet he says this, and even Tyrion, who, right, can't believe it, right? Dragons, what I would also put in the same camp as White Walkers for a long time, and there's 3 of them flying all over the place, and they say White Walkers, and they're like, nah, that's not true,
yeah,
right? Because we've never seen anything crazy happen around here.
Yeah. And I think ultimately that scene that we were just talking about got to the heart of that. I think it got to the heart of that to say, like, I don't think I believe you, but go ahead and mine this dragon glass because, like, it's a win-win-win for everybody. And that win-win-win for everybody was totally orchestrated by, still, I think, my favorite character, Tyrion, man. Tyrion for the win.
The best part about that, though, is before Jon and Dany have that interaction, Jon and Tyrion are both brooding up on the cliff, and... And Jon's talking about how he just doesn't understand how they don't realize it, and Tyrion goes, or says something to the likes of, it's easier for people to face the battle against someone like Cersei instead of believing that there are these other creatures or whatever it might be. And so that's why people tend to, I don't know, just kind of brush it off and keep moving.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
I think it really speaks, too, to Dany as a leader and Dany's camp, too, as a team in general. I feel like other leaders that we've seen, when you find out that you have a weapon in like tons underneath your castle that could defeat some unknown mystery monster, whether you believe in it or not, hell no, I'm not giving it to you. Even if I don't think it's real, it's mine, and you're not taking it.
If you think it means something,
right?
That means...
Then I'm going to keep it, or yeah, exactly. And for Dany to recognize, and for Tyrion and the 2 of them to come together and recognize, this could mean more for us to make this partnership, and maybe it does mean something, but heck, we got 3 dragons, I'm sure we can figure this out. That partnership, that I thought was interesting strategy from that perspective.
And I'm going to come at that, I think we're going to get to the same conclusion, but we're going to come at it a different direction. So she didn't know she had the dragon glass, and for all she knows and understands, it's volcanic glass, what good could it possibly be? But Here is... I'm potentially starting to court favor with another ally, which I think now we're going to... This is probably a good segue into our next scene, I think. She meets Loza right now, because the playing field has changed significantly. I'm so glad we called it in our preview episode where things aren't going to be simple, because they're not simple anymore. It got really, really intense really quick.
Yep. So the next scene? I think the next quick scene is Theon, right? Yeah. So let's cover that real quick. We don't need to spend a lot of time there, but just the tragedy that is Theon Greyjoy continues. He gets picked up by his defeated naval forces, and he tries to lie and say he had her and he had Yara and I was gonna save her and I tried. And they're like, you wouldn't be here if you tried. You worthless piece of shit.
Yeah.
Oh man.
First theme of the episode: shade.
Yeah,
all
absolutely.
Just throwing shade at people.
So I mean, but what can he? What is this? What is the redeeming storyline that we're hoping for? Are we even hoping for a redeeming storyline? Are you guys hoping for a redeeming storyline out of Theon at this point? Or
we have been for a long time, but I guess it just doesn't seem to play out in any way. But he did. We have to remember that he did save Sansa, so he was a pretty pivotal point to that whole plot line. But after that, it just feels like he continues to be just such a tough character to watch, like, go through these struggles.
I can't imagine, like, I'm still having a hard time even believing that character's left alive right now on the show, because you're right, you nailed it. I think his redeeming moment was saving Sansa. So it's like, after that, I wouldn't have been surprised at all if he would have died during that, like, sack on their forces by Euron, you know what I mean? Like, it wouldn't have surprised me, and it probably would have been a good send-off for him. But it's like, just that show, like, twisting the dagger again into that character, saying, we're not done with you yet.
But Theon has... It's interesting, his character arc. I mean, so we meet him, and he's not a prisoner. He is a hostage. What?
You're good. Just continue.
Just continue.
Yeah.
So he's a hostage, right? He's from Robert's rebellion to ensure the loyalty of the Iron Islands to the Seven Kingdoms. And he's proven time and time again that he is ambitious enough to want to seek power, but he also understands that the Starks aren't bad people. So he rescued Sansa. He didn't kill Rickon and Bronn.
Mm-hmm.
He made it seem like he did.
Yep.
But he didn't. So I don't think we're done with him yet. I think he's still got some kind of redemption story in store. What it is, I have no idea. But I don't think we're done with him yet.
I'm still holding out hope that maybe the storyline for Theon is that he somehow brings us Gendry back into the picture. Like, somehow I could see that character dynamic could work well. Gendry has always been, like, the stoic hero. Maybe he's the one that sort of, like, wakes up, like, Theon and says, what are you doing? You gotta, man up, and we gotta get back to the war. We gotta get back to the front.
You don't think it's King Reek at the end of the Game of Thrones?
No, that would be a twist. Oh, my God. All right, cool. So let's move on past that one. What's our next scene? Is this...
Cersei. You're on bowling in with 2 gifts. More than 1 gift, right? I mean, he's looking for that marriage
3.
card.
He kept Yara for
Technically 2,
himself.
but yeah.
Yeah, and he keeps her for himself, and he rolls in. I thought the scene was so interesting at King's Landing where everybody's there cheering on his return or arrival or whatever. Maybe
right.
Cersei called like people to the throne room to say, guys, check out how awesome we are. We got all these people, right? It just seemed like another throwback to one of the first seasons, because I don't think we see the throne room that filled with, normal people much at all, especially cheering.
Yeah,
I don't think the people in the throne room were normal people.
No, yeah.
I think the people lining the streets
outside.
were. Yeah,
Fair.
Yep.
I will say it could have been just a testament to Marcella. I don't know, but it could have brought them out. That was what I was kind of attributing it to.
And I love the dialogue there as they go further, and we're skipping a little bit, but like as we go further in, and Jamie says these same people spat on my sister. Just really, I don't know what the timing is, but it feels like a couple episodes ago, right? Because she was so cruel and blew up the sept and all that sort of stuff. And he's like, how can you trust these people after Euron's like relishing in their praise?
I think Euron even mentioned something along the same lines, too, when he was talking about, like, oh, Jamie was like, they'll put your head on a spike and cheer. And he's like, they do the same for you. I think they just like seeing heads on spikes.
So great.
Like, I think Euron is like, look, you're not going to intimidate me by telling me that this crowd could turn on me at any second. Like, I could turn on all of you guys at any second. Like, so I think, this episode didn't get us any closer to disliking Euron. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I think we talked a little bit about this either on the reaction show or on last week's show. But like from everything we've heard from John and all the book readers and stuff too, he's a terrible person in the books, and we're still cheering for him in a weird kind of way. Not cheering for him, that's not the right word, but like understanding where he's coming from more and like enjoying when he's on screen. He's got this like super flamboyant sort of like
everybody likes
persona.
a good villain.
Yeah, exactly.
Pirate
And
rock
he
star.
is that good villain. Yeah, pirate rock star. Yeah, our Jack
eyeliner to
Sparrow.
match.
Yep.
He's very much the stand-up comedian, even though he's so cruel, right, in the show.
Yep.
I think a couple other interesting things were, one was that Cersei decided to tell him, like, yeah, you won't get your marriage today. Let's win the war first. And he he seemed to accept it again, so I feel like he's very confident that that's going to happen and they're going to be able to do
I
that.
thought that was super fucked up, though. It was like, I'm going to go get you this gift. He's like, all right, I'm going to go get this gift. He comes back, he's got this gift. He's like, here you go, here's your 2 gifts. And she's like, cool, thanks. But still no, for now.
Friend zoned.
Yeah, you're still, Euron got friend-zoned. Again, okay.
So I think the last 2 episodes have shown us that the Lannisters have a lot of cards left in the deck, right?
Yep.
So not only that, but obviously the next... I don't know if it's the next scene. We'll talk about Ilaria and stuff, but as we move into Highgarden, etc., they played some chips again in the right places to increase or better their stock and the opportunity to keep King's Landing.
Yeah, absolutely. Do we go straight into...
No, we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, we got a sand snake.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Yeah,
Oh,
that was where I was
man.
going. Yeah, the dungeon scene. Do you want to start it, John?
Oh, that was... So, I think So I kind of watched the episode 3 times. The first time I accidentally drugged myself.
I know thing.
But, like, that was... Even in that state, I was like, oh, why does Cersei have bright red lips? That stuck out. And, of course, the first time I watched it, I wasn't in the right state of mind. But the second time I watched it, it clicked. It took a couple seconds. But I was like, oh, wait. This is about to get really, really real.
Yeah.
And... Man, that was rough. That was hard to watch. Cersei really showed that she is a monster, but like in a way that you can kind of understand. Like
She's like a Bush song, you know, cold hard bitch, just like
There you
all
go.
of it.
There you go.
She was so intense,
Yeah.
and so much riddled with vengeance, and it was great. I mean, Lena Headey is so good at it. I hate Cersei so much, and I almost liked her just in that scene to be like.
There was a lot to like about that scene, though, even if you dislike the character of Cersei, right? I mean, this was one of those rare moments that we got to cheer for the bad guys for a reason that was pretty noble.
yeah,
I mean, like...
Marcella was
completely
an innocent
like
bystander.
didn't need to die.
Yeah.
If you can say about any of the Lannisters,
Yeah.
she didn't need to die.
She didn't need to die, and it was just... she was, in love with... Was it Ilaria's nephew, I think it was? Yeah, it was Ilaria's nephew.
Been so long.
Yeah, it's been so long. But anyways, like, she didn't need to die, and you understand that, like, this is a mother's revenge, and, like, I think we've all been thinking, like, oh, man, if Cersei if she could get her hands on, like, whoever's responsible for that, like, we've seen what she's doing to that big nun, like, what's she gonna do to this person? And I loved, is it Lena Headey? Lena Headey. Her performance in that dungeon scene was fantastic. Like, one of my favorite scenes I've seen in a TV show in a long time. And the thing that I liked the most about it was, like, she went through her evil plan. Like, she was like, and I was thinking maybe I should crush your head. And I was like, nah. And I was thinking maybe I should crush your daughter's head. And I was like, nah. And then she was like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to kiss your daughter. And I'm going to force feed you. I'm going to make sure that you live the rest of your life in this cell watching your daughter's corpse decay. It's like, fuck. Oh, my God.
I will say, though, great performance. Props to Illyria Sand, though, for just how good she was without being able to talk.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Oh, yeah, that's
Her
really...
facial expressions the entire time, like watching Cersei go through the steps of what she was thinking, and then the immediate reaction.
You could see her coming to the conclusion that,
Absolutely.
oh, my God.
They kind of got there like the same time,
right? And I mean, that was just like when you can steal a scene and not talk.
Yep.
It's impressive.
Yep, that's totally true.
In that very moment where she like pulls off the wall and almost gets to Cersei, and then she falls to her knees, you're just like crumbling with them. It was a really strong emotional scene. I feel like it was a great send off for the Sand Snakes. Do we think they're going to come back?
That was my next question too. Yeah, like, is this the last time we see them?
I think they're done.
I think this is probably the last time we see them. I can't imagine.
And kudos to whatever Sand Snake is left, the one daughter, like
Taina.
sure, yeah, that sounds about right. The
Eric C. Check me on that one.
He will.
the raw emotion of like, I'm gonna die.
Right.
That was it was such a good scene. Probably one of the top scenes in the entire series so far.
Yep.
Just emotionally.
Here's another reason too that I think we've seen the last of the Sand Snakes. Right. Like, I'm not positive that Ilaria's character has earned the right to make a surprise appearance now in the rest of the season and a half that we have left, right? Like, if you think about like a classic, like, you know, we didn't see her die, so she's not dead yet, you know, but she's locked up in a dungeon and stuff.
But
it's like at this point, it's like the only way she could come back is like a big sack on King's Landing or something, and then like she's the one that ends up getting out and killing Cersei. Like that wouldn't feel right.
She's
It
like
doesn't feel
rescued,
earned.
and it's like a prison break type.
If
deal.
she's the one who kills Cersei, that's a really disappointing end to Cersei.
That's not how the prophecy works. It's not going to happen.
Also true.
What do we think? In the same sort of realm, though, real